Good morning. So I went from being nervous about showing up on camera to showing up on camera with my headscarf on. So I guess I've conquered that fear. My hair is wet. My hair is wet and it's driving me crazy because it is starting to curl up, and so it's frizzing, and I want it to be smooth. So that's why I didn't take my scarf off yet. I took it off to drop the kids off at school because I don't want to be that mama, right? Like, you're not going to do that. But I noticed since I got back in the car, it was like getting frizzy again, so I put it back on. It's like it's seriously wet, like it's drippy wet. Okay, anyway, enough about that. Coming on today, briefly, so I am sandwiching the show in between a very purposeful listening / driving experience. This beginning from I think I started last Friday. It used to be, that I would listen to something the entire drive, and then it evolved to I'd be listening to something that would just spark my my ideas and so many different, hearing so much information I had never heard before. I would have to turn off Audible or the podcast or whatever I was listening to, and sorry, I got interrupted. So this is Travel Chat. Hey, Diane. This is Travel Chat. This is a show where I use my long commute to talk through my personal development, because I'm listening to books and I'm listening to podcasts that are sparking changes in my patterns of behavior and in my life and in my thought processes. And I just decided to turn on the camera and talk about what I was learning. So, as I was saying before somebody called me, so it started out, I was listening to things and I would turn it off so I could talk it through, because I was this is something I really need to hash out loud to really get a better understanding of it. And then I would just turn the camera on and start recording it. So now, and these, it's an hour-long drive. It's literally 60 minutes, it's 59 minutes, door to door, and probably a little bit longer when I'm coming from daycare. And so the videos were very long, 55-minute videos. Now they're probably going to be a little bit shorter, because I'm sandwiching the show in between some very intentional listening now. I'm listening to a course by the Dave Ramsey company, Ramsey Solutions. It's the Master Financial Coach training, and I started that last Thursday. And so I listened to that, and I stopped to do the show about 8:30-ish, 8:35 today, I think. And then I'm going to turn it off so I can get a little bit more in before I get to work, and then I listen to it on the way home too. So I'll probably not have as robust topics because of two reasons. One is because of that, I need to get in more listening time, but two, because my mind is completely blown. My mind is blown in a way that is more than an epiphany. It's in a way that's like drinking from a fire hydrant. It's so much. Hey, Mona. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. Hi, Mona. It's information overload, almost. So I started this book, Profit First, a couple days ago. I think I started on Sunday, maybe. I don't know. Today's Tuesday. And Profit First is it's heavy. It's accounting, business accounting, right? And so I've listened to every chapter twice. I'll finish a chapter, I have to go back and listen to it because I'm I don't know what this is. And I think, so you guys missed my explanation of why I'm wearing my headscarf. Hey, Jessica. y'all missed the explanation why I wear my headscarf. And I was saying that I went from being like afraid to show up on camera to like showing up on camera with my headscarf on. But so the reason is I washed my hair and my hair is still wet, and it's like in a bubble braid, like a ponytail, but it's drying, and as it dries, it's curling back up, so it's getting really frizzy. And I took off my scarf to drop my kids off at school, but when I got back in the car, I noticed that like I was getting a little halo of frizz, and so I put my scarf back on. So you get to see what the prep looks like with the, you know, putting the headscarf on to avoid the frizz. Anyway, so I'm listening to this book, Profit First, and I'm doing the Dave Ramsey coaching modules, and so it's a lot of math, right? Like, I don't believe that you need to be really good at math to do anything in life. Like, that is just my philosophy of life. I think you could survive your entire life without being good at math. I do not believe in doing math in my head. No way, Jose. Like, not at all. Like, I'm gonna use a calculator. I'm gonna use my calculator on my iPhone. Yeah, so you read that book too? Are you using it for your business? Jessica says she read that. She loved that book. So it's when you're listening to a book that's about accounting, you're listening to someone spurt out facts and figures and calculations to you, and it's like, if it's not written down, if I'm not looking at it, if I'm not really, you know, using my calculator, I'm just, my head is like exploding. So the book is really good, but I'm listening to every chapter twice, and I think that's just a function of the fact that I have to like anticipate what he's talking about, like hear it and then hear it again, because my mind has wandered off as he's like doing facts and figures and calculations that I'm not actually doing with him or watching him do. Also, there are some terms that are new to me because I'm a doctor. I went to medical school. I did not go to any sort of business school or any sort of training or anything like that. Oddly enough, I'm not intimidated by this idea. I'm not intimidated one bit about going to, and this is based on law of attraction, but I'll tell you why, about starting a business without any sort of business schooling type of experience or anything like that. The reason that I'm not intimidated about that is that I think that if I had done all that work, I would be unlearning a lot of bad habits, or I'd be unlearning someone else's idea of how it should be done. And I think that would have put me at a disadvantage. I feel like as this has gone on, I've learned what I needed to know as I've gone on. And it's been pretty amazing. Like, as soon as I'm at a point where there's something I actually need to know to get to the next level, it just appears. It appears. The person appears, the coach appears, the teacher appears, the book appears, the book recommendation appears. Sometimes people tell you about a book 3 times, different people, three different times, same book, and it's like, oh, maybe that's my next step. Right? So this book, I know is my next step because the person who told me about it popped out of nowhere, and I had a session with her. She was doing a QuickBooks workshop and taught me all about QuickBooks, and I'm like, my assignment for the week, it's like homework for me, is to go through the slides and all the notes that she gave me on Saturday, or the notes I took on Saturday during the workshop, and really implement these things and really like wrap my head around it, open my new bank accounts, and all the things that go along with being a serious business owner, and like really doing this properly and getting things set out properly. Now, I didn't know what I didn't know a year ago, but now that I know it, I can start doing it, and then I can build on that. And so I'm not worried about like, oh, you don't know how to, well, when I need to know how to do that, I'll do it, you know. And I'm not so much afraid, like having a lot of like fear-based proceeding, like with fear or anything like that. I just know that, you know, I expect that I'm going to make mistakes. I expect it. And, you know, hopefully they're not like deadly costly mistakes, but I have made deadly costly mistakes in my personal finances, in my personal life, and got up and dusted myself off and started again. So I feel like I have a lot of strength. The car ahead of me is really annoying. Like, I want to pass him so badly. It's a 2-lane highway. This leg of my trip is usually I'm the person who's annoyingly going slow, but I think this person is new in town. Anyway, so Epiphany. So in the last 48 hours, it's not even an epiphany about the financials. It's like my mind is completely blown. And of course I'm doing what I usually do. Like, instead of just thinking like, okay, apply what this book is saying to your business and see how that works. No, I am like, how can I extrapolate this to how I do my personal finances? Like, should I open more accounts? I don't need to open more accounts. Like, we have a lot of accounts already. But I'm just like, hey, Brandy, I'm just like, how can I make this make sense? And it's like, don't try to make it make sense for everything. Just listen to the book and make it apply to what, just absorb it, just learn what he's teaching you and make it apply to what he's telling you to make it apply to. Once you figure out how that works, then you can apply it to any other random thing. But that's how I get myself overwhelmed, right? And that's how maybe a lot of us do this. Instead of just like, okay, if I'm making a meal plan, and like, because I get overwhelmed by meal plans, because I don't just try to like make a meal plan, I try to make one for the whole year. I'm like, okay, if I can do this for this week, maybe I can make like 5 other of these, and I can just alternate them for the rest of our life. And then I get bored with it because I'm like, this totally sucks, and then I just don't meal plan anymore. And so I'm like, just relax and do one simple step at a time. Like, stop doing everything, all at once. And so that's how I get myself like overthinking. So I'm gonna try not to do that. And then, so the Dave Ramsey course, and I should probably do one of these at a time. Like, I should probably finish the Ramsey coaching course and then read Profit First. I don't know, because the Dave Ramsey course is teaching me how to coach people into budgeting and setting up like their future planning. And it's amazing. It's very simple, very step by step. Like, it's the best kind of course that you would want to have. It's the kind of course that we're like trying to create, right? Like, people who are in SOS Club, Michelle gave us that assignment. I think it was like March, of like create a $5 course. And you make a course, but you have like tiny little bits and chunks of information to where like you can absorb that chunk of information and then apply it and then get another chunk of information. So that's how you get wins every day for the people who are watching the course. So I'm just learning that, and I'm like, okay, break it down. Okay, I can get this. And I'm doing the Ramsey course, and that's what they're doing. The videos are very short. They're not super overwhelming. It's like Dave is teaching, and you know how he is, like, it's very conversational. And then you have Chris Hogan, and he's teaching from the stage, and it's very, like, funny, and it's enjoyable to watch. It's not like slides or anything like that. Well, there are some slides, but it's mostly like face-to-face kind of talking head kind of thing. And it's engaging. And there's another guy named Chris Brown, who I guess he's one of their coach trainers, and he's doing a lot of the talking too. But it's enjoyable, but I'm learning a lot. I'm not learning a lot of new information, because oddly enough, instead of like learning how to budget when I needed to, I just reinvented the wheel and taught myself how to budget and try to figure out what the right thing was to do. And so funny is that I came up with the same system. That's so weird. Like, why didn't I just ask somebody to teach me? I don't know. But I came up with a similar kind of thing. So now I'm getting confirmation about what order to teach it in, because I found that when I try to tell people like where to start with their budget, it was a little bit overwhelming, because I really didn't feel confident in like the order to do it. I know how I did it, but I wouldn't want anybody to take like a year to get what they needed. I wanted them to have quick wins. And so I really wanted to take this course to find out, okay, what's the best way to teach this to somebody else? So that's what I'm learning. And my goal for last week was to create the budgeting course that goes with the planner. If you get a planner, you get the budgeting course for free. But I couldn't do that because I was doing the Dave Ramsey course, and it was totally messing up everything in my head, because the way I thought should be the best way to do it is way more complicated than the way that they're teaching. So I was like, okay, don't make my budgeting course, do the entire Dave Ramsey course, and then make my budgeting course. And then here came Profit First to throw into the milieu of, complicated financial numbers. So yeah, fun. Yeah, lots of fun all day long. So pretty much my mind is blown, like all day, every day. And I even think I had a dream about this kind of stuff. Like I think I've been dreaming about it. So it's been crazy. I've been like immersed in it. And I wanted to talk to you guys because I think it was Thursday or Friday, I was listening to Bob Proctor, and he was talking about all the senses that we're not taught that we have. And so I was like, oh, I have to talk about all these senses because, it's one of those things where you go, I knew it. It's like you just kind of say, and I know, Brandy, I know that's why you're up watching, because you're like, I want to hear, because she sent me a text message. She was like, I can't wait to hear about these other senses. But Bob Proctor kind of confirmed this idea, and I'm just now getting into Bob Proctor, and oh my goodness, like, can he just adopt me to be his granddaughter? Because he's just so cool. He's like 80 something years old, still going strong. And so he talks about, we know about our 5 senses that we hear about, like all the way, like my kids they'll be 4 next month, and they already know all their 5 senses. They just like yell them out randomly throughout the day. And so we know about those: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. And so those we get those drilled into us. Yeah, I know, Brandy. We get those drilled into us. But Bob Proctor's like, we have like 6 more senses that the thought process behind it is the fact that I got a text message that I have to respond to later because I can't. Okay, so the fact that humans are created in the image of God, whereas all the other animals, and everybody's texting me, all the other animals and all of nature are also created by God, but not in his image. And humans are created by God and are also created to be creators. That's one thing that we're not taught, is that we are created to be creators, and that we are responsible along with God for creating and co-creating our life and making our life what we want it to be. So we have these unique abilities that he's given us to make that happen. And there are things that we often suppress and ignore because we feel like they're going to lead us wrong. And in some cases, it's because we've been taught that they will. It's like we've been taught, don't trust your feelings, be logical about what you're doing, make decisions logically, crunch all the numbers, do things based on the numbers, don't do things based on your gut instinct, don't make decisions based on just like objective, or I should say subjective ways that you think about things. So we're taught not to trust ourselves, when in actuality we have a connection to our Creator that's given us these other 6 senses that are not as tangible as like smell, right? Like smell is tangible, but what is intuition? Like, what is that feeling in your stomach when you feel like you should do something or not do something? When you've written that email, like it's early in the morning, you're frustrated, and you write the email, and something tells you, don't send this email. Like, look at it again after lunch, after you've eaten something, after you've thought about it, after you've calmed down, after you've woken up, after you've had coffee, then think about sending this email again. That's our gut instinct, right? So it's not the same as smell. It's not the same as sight, but it is the same because you actually do feel it. And if you go ahead and send that email and something bad happens, then later you say, you know what? I knew I shouldn't have sent that email. I knew it just as just as the day is long. Like, I knew it, and knew it. And because maybe you've chewed somebody out, and then you realize later it was your own mistake, and it's like, oh, why did I do that? That was so dumb. So, this is like, these senses are things that we often just ignore. So I'm going to tell you what they are. I have not researched this or anything. Like, I heard him rattle these off in an interview, and I was like, yes, I totally get that. So I'm going to tell you what they are, tell you what they mean to me, and then you can decide what they mean to you. And I hope I remember all 6 of them. We'll see. It's like the 7 dwarfs. You can always remember 6 of those darn dwarfs when you try to say them out loud, but we'll see if I can. Brandy, you can put them, I texted them to you, so you can tell me if I forget one. So there is imagination, which I did a whole show on one day about this. I was like, why do we have imagination? It's so random, right? Like, why do we have imagination? There has to be a purpose for imagination. And when I realized that I could co-create my life, like I could actually cooperate with God to make my life the way I wanted it to be, I realized that the way that I did that was through imagination. Because I would imagine the outcome that I wanted. I would daydream so hard on the outcome that I wanted. And then I'd sit back and relax and pretend like it's already happened. And then it would happen. And so I'm like, okay, imagination has a very real purpose. It does something to our brain. It's a very real thing to imagine the way you want your life to be. And then there's will, reason, intuition. That's 4. Memory. And you have to tell me the 6th one. Imagination, will, reason, intuition, memory, and I can't remember. I don't even know if I have it written down. Maybe it's in my planner. Hold on. Let's see. I bet it is. Sounds like something I would put in my planner. Yes, perception. Perception, will, imagination, memory, reason, and intuition. So, I have a coach, and it's like he's like a law of attraction coach, and we actually have a coaching call today, which I'm so looking forward to. I have something on my mind. I have to think about that later. But anyway, so his entire mission for us is to help us to shift our perception. And when you shift your perception, you can gain control of your vibration. And the reason for that, and I think it's probably, thank you, perception. That's probably what I talk about a lot here, but I don't use the term perception. I probably should, because I think I've used the term perspective, but perception is the way we perceive things. So if you have memories from childhood, and this, I've talked about this a lot, but you have memories from childhood and maybe you perceive them in a negative way, or if you're super optimistic kiddo, maybe you remember them in a positive way, but your brother or sister remember them in a negative way, or vice versa. So you're like, I had this horrible childhood and all these crazy things happened to me, and your brother is like, he was there too, right? Like, he was there, and he's like, it was not bad. Like, what are you talking about? Everything was fine. People loved us. We had food. We got beat every few days, but that's okay. We survived. It's like, you never know how someone else is perceiving the same thing. And so now, as you go through your day, your same life, you may have a perception of an event, or a perception of your own intention. There's something that you're doing or you've done that someone else takes the totally wrong way, or someone else does something and you take it the totally wrong way, and you don't really know how to handle it, and you end up just feeling like super depressed or super sad or like down in the dumps. And it throws off your vibration, so you start to attract all these negative things, and things are not going well for you. And it's just like, it all stems from being like super sad or upset about something that happened, when in actuality, it was probably your perception of that thing that happened that made it a bad outcome. So we have the power of perception. And, other animals, other species don't do that. They take everything at face value. When your dog, you come home and your dog is there, your dog is so happy to see you. Your dog is not wondering why you've been gone all day, or like why you went to hang up your coat before giving them a hug or anything like that. Like, they take things at face value. Like, you're here, you're happy to see me just like I'm happy to see you. Great. And so we as humans, we read a lot of things into situations, and we have our own perception of things, and our perception is a gift. The fact that we can, decide what a situation looks like, we can perceive things, and we can walk into a room, and everyone has a different degree to which they can do this, but they can sense the energy in the room and can perceive that, like, this is, from my point of view, this is what's happening in this room. This is my perception of what's happening in this room, for good or for bad. Like, you can walk in and feel like, okay, yeah, I feel welcome in here. I feel welcome, so I'm gonna act accordingly. I'm gonna be in a good mood. I'm gonna be happy. Or you can walk in and feel like, I'm not welcome here. I don't feel comfortable here. And then you're gonna sit back and maybe kind of be quiet and not really assert yourself or anything like that. That's perception. That's a sense that we have to be able to go out into our world, create our reality, and govern our lives and make things happen for us. We have memory. That's another one he mentioned, is memory. Other animals operate a lot on instinct, meaning that, like, they don't remember that they should fly south for the winter. It's like their instinct. It's like a feeling, like, okay, time to fly south. It's getting a little cold around here. Got time to go down, to Barbados or wherever. Whereas we have memory. We remember what happened last year. We remember the last time we talked to that person and how they made us feel, for good or for bad. We remember that. And so that makes a difference in how we behave the next time that happens. So memory is an instinct that, it's also like, it's a regular thing, but it's like the fact that we can use our memory to help us navigate how to direct our life and how to co-create our life with God. That's a gift. That's a good sense to have. And then will. We have free will. And I always say this because Abraham Hicks said it and it stuck with me so much, but we are so free. We can choose to be in bondage. Like, you have free will. God is not making you do anything. He's giving you free will. So you can keep ignoring all your other senses until it's time for you to get knocked over the head with, like, okay, it's time to wake up. Or you can continue to be in bondage. You can continue to live in debt. You can continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. You can continue to date the same kind of guy over and over and over again, have the same kind of negative outcomes. All that stuff can happen over and over because you have the will to do it. But you also have the will to change those things. You can change them immediately. You just have the will to change it. Just change it if you want to. Yeah. And so that's an important thing to know, and also to know that starts in your head, because if you're going to use your will to change your life, it's going to start in your imagination. It's going to start with your imagination, with you deciding where you're going to be, using your will to say, you know what, I can change this, and then your intuition will start to lead you in which way to go, which leads to intuition. And your intuition is just that's tiny, tiny, small voice that tells you to do something or not to do something. It's always going to give you clues. And the amazing thing about intuition is that it's so much bigger than yourself. Like, I just got a text message that was like just a part, you could just see like the first line of it or whatever. And somebody's mad at me. I haven't read it yet, so God only knows what for. I tend to, I don't know, I'm opinionated, I guess, and since the midlife crisis, I tend to not do things just to make people happy. Like, I do things because I honestly feel like saying and doing things. And so, when people are upset, of course I'm not happy if somebody's upset, especially if it's somebody I care about, and this happens to be somebody I do actually care about. But it's like, my intuition told me a week ago that this person was probably mad at me, but I didn't know it for sure. And this is not because I didn't think that the person was mad at me because I thought I did something that would make them mad, but I just had this out of my body sense, and it was kind of, and that's I'm trying to illustrate intuition, because I mean, I know you guys all know what intuition is, but it's this feeling of knowing something that you should not know. Like, logically, you should not know this. You know what I mean? Like, logically, you shouldn't think of your friend right before they call you. And logically, you shouldn't, just know something. You know something is going to happen, and then it happens, and then you're like, how did I know that? It's like this, it's a very strange kind of, like, a sense of knowing. And so to get that text message, I was like, I thought so. This just confirms it. But it was like deep down, I haven't talked to this person in weeks and weeks and weeks, but like deep down, I was kind of like, I think this person is upset about something. And I have this friend that I have from college who, she lives, we used to live far away, but now that I commute like all the way out here, I like probably pass her house or something, but she lives like on this side of town, and she's my friend from college. And I hadn't, like, we talk occasionally. We probably talk, well, we used to talk before I decided to like call people when I think of them. We used to talk probably once a year. But now that I tell myself, call people when you think about them. As soon as you think about, because that's your intuition tugging at you. I'll call her, or I'll text her, or I'll send her a video message of just saying, hey, I was thinking about you for this particular reason, and hey, I hope everything is good. And it used to be, when I used to suppress that feeling and not call, it would get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I remember one time it got so strong, and I had this feeling, I was like, you should call her. And it, like I said, it's an out of body kind of thing. It's like an outside force that's telling you to do something, and you have no idea why you need to do that. And so I was like, oh, I should call her. And then my mom just came up to me and was like, hey, have you talked to so-and-so lately? You should call her. And I'm like, how did you, but I was suppressing it myself. And I called her, and guess what? She was pregnant. She was about to have a baby. And so I was so excited to hear that. And it was like, oh my gosh, you're about to have a baby. And it, it's just amazing. It's like, I probably suppressed that feeling for 8 months or whatever. And then she's like, yeah, I'm like really pregnant now. But that's the feeling, and everybody knows this feeling, that like you have this idea, this inkling, this tug. That's your intuition. So anyway, I'm gonna go. Well, I was going to listen to some Ramsey, but I think I probably ought to deal with this text message and see, like, what have I done? I don't do much. I take care of my kids, I go to work, I come home. I work on my business on the weekends, but doing is not the problem. It's probably something I said, because I do tend to say things that I don't fully think through how they are received. And if I ever do that to you, please let me know, because I'm just totally clueless, and I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. So anyway, that's Travel Chat, and go out today, use all of your 11 senses, try to use them, listen to them, because they are actually a thing, and they will make you successful. And check on my hair here. I don't know. I will talk to you later. I'm about to park.